Hey friends, are you looking for a trellis which can serve all of your growing needs and is really also as pretty as it is functional? Then look no further. Today I'm going to show you how we build our coppice trellis system. It is lightweight, so it doesn't have a prominent structure in your garden. It's really pretty with those aged copper look, if you ask me, and it is very robust. So it's not only pretty, but it's also strong, can hold up all of your tomatoes for the season if you use a lower and lean trellis. In the other bed over on the other side, I'm going to grow my peas on a vertical net on it. So it's really a flexible system which you can use for all of your vertical growing needs, and it's pretty. It is not as cheap as it was a couple years ago due to the material prices for copper, unfortunately, but it will last you a very long time. So keep that in mind when I walk you through that. So we'll go through it step by step, what materials you need, how to build it. And yeah, I hope you'll enjoy this tutorial for a trellis system. So let's look at it a little bit closer. My beds here are 4 by 8. And what we are using is 2 copper pipes going up with vertical braces, like almost like every 2 feet. There's another one. Then it ends up in elbow pieces on the top, goes further to brace. And then we have over there a middle brace, because even though it is strong, it still needs on this distance and on this length of 8 feet in middle brace to be really able to hold all this weight. And then you see on the other side over there, we have another brace, and then it goes down in the elbow pieces on the other side. So how are we going to build this? So how is the pudding made? So even though it looks like it is one consecutive pipe, it's actually all small pieces which are soldered together. As you can see here, I'm going to show you this process in soon. And with those soldered pieces, you can also make sure it has the stability and it's aligned well for the structure you need. So we will build this full trellis offsite, like outside next to the deck, and then put it in the last bed where it's needed. I'll take the hoops off and stuff. So then we have all 3 wooden beds with this trellis system, and I can move around throughout the seasons with a little bit of crop rotation, which I do here just for, soil protection, keeping my crops and the soil happy. Let me walk you through the materials you need for this project. I've also listed them in the description, and what you will find below as well is a link to my blog post where you find out a detailed description on how to build this trellis as well, with all measurements, etc., to be able to build it easily. All right, so the most important thing, obviously, is copper pipe. I know it's not the cheapest material anymore, but it is strong and it's long lasting. So for that reason, I always opt for the materials which will last me the longest and serve my purpose, because here in New England, we just have rough weather, right? So if you find something what withhold the elements through the seasons, that is always worth a little bit of an investment for me. And again, I'm a sucker for copper, for an aged copper look. I just love it how it looks, and it's not as big and prominent as other trellises you might find in other gardens. So I like the subtleness of the look to it. So copper pipes are the important piece, but then copper pipes are the important pieces, but then we have also a bunch of small little pieces we will need to bring it together. One thing that's really important to be able to work with the copper pipes is a pipe cutter. And that small little thing is really inexpensive and does the trick very, very well. It's super easy to use. And yeah, it's just a meaningful thing to have to cut the pipes without any other tools required. Obviously, some measuring tapes, some marking pens, obviously. That is, I think, for every project, a key ingredient. But then for this particular project, as we are soldering, we will use 3 different things to make the solder stick and last forever. So there are some teeny tiny multi-purpose brushes to brush on this solder paste. And what that does is really helps to suck in the solder in the joints to really make it last and to like, yeah, adhere those pieces together for forever. And then, of course, you'll need the solder itself, right? So that's a very, very common material. And then we typically use some sponges as well to clean up the material where we joined the pieces together. This will just help again to make sure that the adhesion of the solder is perfect and you have materials which are properly firm, connected, and last a long time. And then the pieces we'll need to mount it actually in our wooden beds are just some pipe straps to put them into the bed, and off you go. And of course, to make the solder work, we'll have some safety gloves to just make sure that we don't burn our hands on the pieces. The copper stays a lot longer hot, so it's a little bit you got to be careful when you use the material, and a blowtorch to actually make the solder heat up and solder the stuff together. Yeah, those are all the pieces you would need to get the trellis going. So the cutter is lined up with the mark. You tighten it with a screw, and then you really swivel it around, which basically creates the cut. Tighten it a little bit further to cut slowly and surely into the pipe. Tighten it a little bit more. Swivel it around. And there you go. Beautiful cut. So we cut all those pieces. I'm separated here. This is like one side, the other side, and the top pieces. And we'll start to assemble them. So we're cleaning here the ends to make sure they have no residue on it for proper adhesion when we get there. So pretty. And this is how we start to assemble them. So heating up the solder paste in the middle with a torch. And then the solder itself just gets sucked into the connection. There we go. Careful with your fingers, know how to use the blowtorch, and be mindful of the heat. All right, so we have all three pieces assembled. Here's the last one, and the other two we have here in the grass. A little bit hard to see, but I hope you can make them out. Now we're just going to get the correct elbow pieces from a home improvement store. Wouldn't be a project if you have to go at least once again to the store to get some which you got either wrong or forgot. And then we'll put it together, and we'll probably won't be finishing it today, but tomorrow or the next day, because we definitely need it next weekend in place, because I'm going to plant out the peppers and the tomatoes. So as you can tell, it's another day, and it's actually a couple of weeks later since we started this video. What should I say? Life got a little bit away from us with, yeah, just some time pressure to get things planted, and yeah, just cramping everything possible into the weekend. So that project took a little bit of in back burner to be filmed. So apologize for the mixed footage, but I hope you understand how that happens with yeah, just live things. But let me quickly finish this video up to show you how we put everything together and really help you to understand how those pieces I showed you in the footage before all come together. So we take those 3 pieces from the last clip and put in the side panels first. And with the side panels, then we'll put those, the elbows were already on top soldered on the bottom pieces. So basically on the bottom of those side pieces, we had already the elbow pieces soldered. So that's basically looked at each other, and then we put the middle piece in, aligned it all, measured on the bottom so it's truly centered and on the same height. What was here a little bit of a tricky situation was that we put it into the bed as an afterthought. We had the bed already filled with soil. That made the full section or the full situation slightly more difficult than putting it into an empty bed. So for that reason, it needed to be leveled, make sure that we have it truly level with everything and that dug up soil in it. But so we adjusted and attached those side pieces to be perfectly aligned with each other and with the bed. And then we put the top piece in it and basically soldered it in place with it being here. So one thing which we didn't show you in detail was how we did the middle brace, because you will need a middle brace for such a large bed, and probably most of the beds from the moment you go a little longer distance, to have it supported in the middle, especially when you put a weight on it. So in the ideal case, if you plan to have this trellis put into a fresh new bed where you can put it in level to the ground, the easiest way to put the middle brace in is to have 2 small pieces, put the T in between, and have that large piece coming down. So for us, again, we'll like it complicated once in a while. So in our case, what we did here, because we had already soil in here and just wanted to get stability in, so we took the large copper pipe, put it in, and on the top, that T piece on the top was basically cut on the top open, to be open, and braced it, and we'll put it around and soldered it on the top. This is not the easiest way or the easiest step to do, because you actually need some other tools to cut that T fitting open to turn it into a brace. So it's not what I necessarily would recommend. And I usually, all the instructions with it, trellis is meant for somebody who's creating a new bed, right? So keep that in mind. There are other ways to do it and support it. If you're not using copper pipes, to, for example, make a pipe has some really cool fittings which you can use to really make those connections as well for conduit pipes, for example. But this is what we used and this is how we did it. So let me give you a quick close up. So you can see here those elbow pieces which we put in. Again, like we came up here, had the full section here already built. That was one piece put in. The elbows were already soldered in on this side here. And then we put in the top piece after. What you can see as well is we have already our metal loops already for when I need it. And here you can even see how I have the lower and lean trellis connected to it and strung up on my pretty tomatoes. Sorry for the weird lighting conditions. The weather is messing with us all weekend long here. And yeah, now it's getting hot again and Maggie's going to the shade. Yeah, so this is how it ended up. And the only other thing which is not visible anymore is, but I have a picture of it, is how we attach it on the sides over here. Is really just braces into the wooden bed screwed in so that it really stays in place nicely. So I really hope that was an interesting video. I know it's a little bit wonky with the footage, but it was hard to conceptualize that before. Still learning process for me with all my footage now, but is one of our most favorite own designs, which we for sure will have forever in the gardens because it's so flexible for all our vegetables growing needs. So let me know if you have any questions. I hope my blog post was detailed enough, which we'll have in this section in the description below. Let me know if you have any questions. It always makes sense when you describe it with your thoughts, right? But it's not always the same if somebody reads it. So if there's anything would need to be specified a little bit more or described a little bit more, just let me know. And yeah, I'm happy to adjust it or provide the additional context to it. So if you like this video and want to have more of our like own construction videos, here we have a few other things which we built, just let me know. We'll see over time how the tomatoes will grow. I'll surely show updates in my garden, overviews and garden tours moving. So I hope you will stick around for it, subscribe and watch another video. Thank you.